back. Welcome, guys. My name is Jerron Tyler, founder of Posterity.ai, a business credit platform and software that helps entrepreneurs maximize their funding by way of understanding and having real-time, cutting-edge recommendations to show them exactly where to apply, why to apply, and how to apply. And today, I'm coming here to talk to you about 3 different components and 3 different aspects that I got by way of revelation that has caused me and my clients to garner over 6 and 7 figures worth of funding. We're going to be talking about your pathway. But here in the DMV, we oftentimes have the inclination to exchange the TH with the F. And so instead of path, we're going to be talking about your path. Understanding your pathway. When you have the knowledge and the understanding, it puts you in optimal position to get approved for the funding that you need. And so behind me, I have this outstanding dynamic acronym. And as you can see, we have a bit of a yellow brick road right here to guide you along the way. But on my journey, I realized that I garnered the most success for me and my clients when I understood the path, when I understood the trajectory, when the road and the pathways were clear. And so we're going to talk about how you can make your road and your pathway as clear as possible. Again, we're talking about the path. Let's go. So here we go. The P in path stands for where the bank pulls from. It is so vitally imperative that you understand where the institution pulls from. I don't apply anywhere until I understand where they pull from. I need to understand where they're sourcing the information from on me and my profile. So many entrepreneurs and people make the huge mistake by going to banks and just applying blindly, right? You don't know where they pull from. You don't know their underwriting requirements. You don't know what business industries they hate. You don't know anything about their internal process. You just went because you saw someone online or because your brother, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your girlfriend, your boyfriend told you that they went to a bank and got approved for $25,000. Congratulations! But no one situation is cookie cutter. And so the very first thing that you want to do is you want to begin to identify where this banking institution pulls from. I don't care if it's a business loan, a business line of credit, an auto loan, a credit card. If you're talking about a CDFI loan, an SBA loan, it does not matter. You need to understand where that bank pulls from. That is rule number 1. You need to know where they pull from. And so what I have here is I have 2 directions that we could go in. The first place a bank could pull from would be your actual business credit profile. The second place your bank could pull from would be your personal credit profile. But let's dive even deeper into the business side. They can either take a look at your Experian business, they can take a look at your Equifax business, they can take a look at your Dun & Bradstreet business credit report, or they can take a look at your credit safe. However, I want to break down and go a little deeper into these particular components right here, because if you are a startup, you're a brand new business, oftentimes you don't even have a track record of having any type of business credit or any type of loans or any track record or history. However, I want you guys to be as sharp as possible. As, what's my guy's name? John Hope Bryant says you want to be dangerous from the neck up, okay? So you want to be able to look in different vantage points because you never know how a bank may hit you. Now, this is specifically for somebody who's been in business for at least a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Yeah, at that point, the bank wants to go in and see who have you done business with before. Have you ever had any open trade lines, any business lines of credit, any business credit cards? Have you ever had any business auto loans? The bank wants to go in and take a look at that for their records to gauge your approval. Now, the next space that we go to, and I'll write this right here on the board for you guys, and this is your personal side. Now, as you can see, your personal side also has an Experian, you also have an Equifax, and then you have a TransUnion. Now, if you look in between both of these, it's super key because you'll see that you have similarities here. You have an Experian business as well as you have a personal Experian. And you also have an Equifax personal just as much as you have an Equifax business. However, as you guys might imagine, they are 2 separately different entities, all right? They do not display the same type of information. The information displayed is totally different. One is bound by your personal credit report. The other one is bound by your business credit report. Now, what I wanted to write down for you guys that is super key is understanding this component here, that 99% of banking institutions all over the country are going to check your personal credit report, especially if you're just starting out. There's so many people that want to go into this whole funding journey and say, I don't want to put my personal I don't want to put my social security number up. I don't want to put my personal credit up. My question is why, right? We believe in reciprocity. We believe in doing ethical business. I always give people my very bare minimum explanation or definition of credit, right? If you don't know nothing about TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, that's okay. I know people right now to this day that have 750 and 800 plus credit scores because they abided by what I define good credit to be. And that is paying who you said you were going to pay. If you honor your commitments, you won't have any problem with your credit, thus putting you in a situation where you don't mind putting up your personal credit to get the funding that you need to grow and expand your business. Who cares if I got to put my personal up to get $25,000? I'm gonna pay you back anyway. Who cares if I got to put my personal up to go get $150,000? I'm gonna pay you back your money anyway. I'm trying to get this money so that I can reinvest back into my business, so that I can go out and buy other businesses, so that I can hire staff members and I can use leverage, right? Money is nothing but a lever that causes you to expedite and operate in time in a more efficient manner. Here we go. I want you guys to keep this in mind. 99 of the institutions are going to look at your personal credit. Again, we're talking about path now. We're talking about how can I best navigate on my path and my journey. I got to have the knowledge. I got to have the understanding. If I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what I'm looking like, I cannot be highly successful on the journey that I'm on. Now, here's another thing that I want you guys to keep in mind when you start talking about where a bank pulls from. The other key component is understanding if this bank gives you a hard inquiry or a soft inquiry. Oh my God, I don't know if I got enough time in this video to talk about this. Does the bank give me a soft inquiry or do they give me a hard inquiry? Now, I wrote up here 3 times 3 inquiries, right? This is the sweet spot amount of inquiries that you want to operate in. 3 inquiries or less when you start talking about going and applying to banks. You want to have 3 inquiries or less, specifically when you start talking about being able to pull from your personal credit report for business funding. However, when you come here and you start talking about this component of a hard inquiry versus a soft inquiry, I wrote frequency down at the bottom because when I find a institution that only gives me a soft inquiry, whether it's for one of our clients, because you do not suffer loss whether you get approved or you don't. Whether I get approved for this amount of funding or I get denied, I don't walk away with a hard inquiry. For those of you guys who don't know, hard inquiries can cost you anywhere between 2 to 4 points on your personal credit report. And so initially, the first step that I want to take when I'm trying to go out and maximize and acquire funding is I'm looking at the spread of all institutions that are going to give me a soft pull, a soft inquiry. Again, if I get approved for 50 grand, great. If I don't get approved for nothing, great. I don't suffer loss. The only thing I do is gain. I either gain knowledge and understanding as to why I failed, or I gain $50,000. So this is what you guys want to keep in mind. The premium is in the soft inquiry. The premium is in the soft pull. Man, I can't tell you guys how many times I've heard people prior to me even getting into the finance and business space over 10 years ago. Prior to that, in my formative years, I would just always hear people say, don't let them run your credit. Don't give nobody your social. Don't let them run your credit. I don't want to go there to get my credit ran. So I had that embedded inside of me like, hey, that's not a good thing. But when you start talking about gaining access to lending institutions and banks and products that will only go in and do a soft pull. Jerron, what is a soft pull? What is the difference? When you start talking about a soft pull is nothing more, nothing less than the institution gaining access and doing a soft scan and evaluation and assessment of your profile, right? So they can gain access. If you go on Experian.com, you can gain access right now to everybody that's doing soft pulls. You got insurance companies doing soft pulls. You got lenders that already gave you money right now doing soft pulls. You got people that are thinking about extending you pre-approval letters right now that are doing soft pulls. So you want to be aware. The first thing you want to ask, okay, where are they pulling from? All right, now how are they pulling? Are they doing a soft pull or a hard pull? I want to maximize that because if I can find me 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 banks that's all doing soft pulls, I may be able to walk walk away with $100,000 without even damaging my credit. Are y'all hearing me? Man, I'm pumped up and fired up, man. Let's get to work. Now, the next thing before we go on to the next place is identity. This is such a key and dynamic component when you start talking about funding, when you start talking about credit, when you start talking about maximization. That is my favorite word. I want to maximize everything that I put my hands on. And so when you start talking about identity, you want to identify how many inquiries you have per credit bureau. If you watching me right now, if you feeling me right now, I need you to take note of what I just said. I need you to do it either right in the midst of this video or as soon as this video ends. I want you to go and I want you to see how many inquiries you have on TransUnion, how many inquiries you have on Equifax, how many inquiries you have on Experian. Because one of the things that you'll realize is that almost 98% of banks all utilize at least one bureau. You have some banks right now like Chase may give you one hard inquiry on two bureaus like TransUnion and Experian. But for the most part, most banks are only going to engage one bureau. This is how you become more acquainted and acclimated with stacking different funding. But again, I want you guys to begin becoming more acquainted with your credit report, with your credit score. But specifically right now in this moment, I want you to go and I want you to identify, because one of the things that we see all the time is that some clients may have 9 inquiries on TransUnion, but they may only have 1 inquiry on Experian. Well, if I got 9 inquiries on TransUnion, and I just heard this old wild, crazy Jerron online talking about the sweet spot was 3, then I'm not going to touch the bureau that has 9 inquiries. I'm going to go with the one that only got 1. And I'm gonna try to maximize that situation until those other inquiries fall off. And so again, you guys wanna know, if you don't take nothing else away from this, all right? This is the same pathway that I use to garner over 7 figures in approvals. This is the same pathway I'm figuring out. Where do they pull from? Is it a hard inquiry? Is it a soft inquiry? I'm setting up for victory. I'm setting up, man, for my winning season by taking it slow. And I had one of my old former managers in the automotive industry. He said, man, brother Jerron, he said, sometimes you gotta slow down to speed up. Sometimes people moving so fast, there is no way they can get the victory because they're moving too fast. You're moving at the speed of light and you can't even see what's going on and what's happening. Next one that I want to go into, if anybody's excited, say I'm excited. Yeah, I'm talking to the people, man. Let's go to work. The next one that we have here is the A in your pathway. The A in your pathway stands for application type, all right? Application type. Let's go down and see what we got going on here. Application type. Before I go apply somewhere, not only do I want to know where they pull from, I want to know what type of application process do I have to go through. And so what I have here before we even go there is, number one, I want to know, even in the midst of understanding the application type, I want to know, does this bank require a relationship with me? I have written up here on the notes, every bank wants your money. Every bank wants deposits. Every bank believes in the law of reciprocity. I give, you give, I give, you give, I give, and you give some more. As long as you don't stop giving and I don't stop giving, then there's no problem. But the banks, they want your deposits. Why? It grows their deposits. It grows their availability. It grows their fundability. It grows their overall assets because they can lend 10 times the money that are in the banks. And so they want your money in the bank. However, there are some banks that require that. There are some banks that don't require that. When you start talking about the larger banks, I want you guys to go to ibanknet.com. You'll be able to see the top 10, 15, 20, 30, 35 banking institutions in the entire country. And you can see that their assets are sitting over $1 billion, i.e. JP Morgan Chase, i.e. Bank of America, i.e. banks like PNC, Wells Fargo. They have such high assets. So now they're in a position right now where they can either go for the relationship or not, depending on the volume and depending on how they have their corporate banking system structured. And so with that being said, you want to realize, you want to discover, okay, who requires me to have a banking relationship? Because that can either expedite the process or it can slow the process down. A lot of times people come to me and they say, well, Jerron, what's the first place I should apply? I always recommend that you apply to the place that has majority of your deposits, majority of your money. Why? Because that bank has familiarity with you. They have a track record. They have a history. Whether you had an automotive loan with them, whether you had a mortgage with them, a credit card, or whether you receive direct deposit from your job, or you get 1099, or you get actual deposits from your business into that bank, that is the first place you want to go. Again, they understand you, they know you, they're familiar with you, opposed to you trying to go all the way over on the West Coast and you live on the East Coast, versus you live on the West Coast and you try and go all the way over the East Coast to a random credit union trying to get funded. They don't even know who you are from a can of paint, right? So sometimes having that relationship is even stronger than score. Sometimes having that relationship is even stronger than you having this beautifully built out personal credit profile and business credit profile, because again, it is about relationship. If you know somebody, man, they say all the time, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You could be sitting right in front of the most educated, dynamic, flawless individual, world-class leader, but you don't know them, versus this other person, their knowledge base may be subpar, but because you know them, you're a little more familiar with them. And so again, when you start talking about application type, you want to put yourself in a position to say, okay, do they require relationship? And if they do require relationship, I'm going to drop something on you that is worth times whatever. It's worth $100,000, $1 million, because it can be the defining factor or determining factor as to whether you get approved or denied. My rule of thumb, whenever I'm opening up a business bank account for the first time, I want to go in and at bare minimum, I really want to put $1,000 in that account at minimum. Now, if you can't put 1,000, then try 500. If you can't put 500, try 250. But you want to be able to show the bank that you do have some type of skin in the game, some type of level of liquidity. And so again, at bare minimum, I want to try for 1,000. Now I'm speaking to my individuals out here that may be bootstrapping it, that may be in a season where they scrapping and perhaps your liquidity is a little tough. But now let's speak to those individuals that's already sitting on 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000, right? If I'm going to open up a bank for the first time, I'm trying to go put 25,000 in there. I want to go put 50,000. I want to go put $100,000 in the bank. Let me give you guys a story. There's a bank out here in the DMV. I sat down with this banker and it was another brother right on the other side of me. He went and deposited $600,000. He had just gained access to an estate. He went and deposited $600,000 in an account and they approved him for a $150,000 business line of credit as well as a $80,000 business credit card. How did that happen? He went in and he maximized his bank rating score. Internally, his business was so strong, not just because he had the LLC, not because it was structured properly, because he had the money in the institution. What does that do for them? What does that do for the bankers? Wow, we just gained $600,000 in deposits. Man, let's break bread with him. Let's share the wealth, okay? So you guys want to keep that in mind. The next thing that you guys want to keep in mind, there are two different components right here that I want you guys to keep in mind, okay? There's two different components. The very first one is understanding the type of application you're working with. Now, I'm highlighting this pretty heavily right now because this is your instant online application. In abbreviations, I put AI, all right, but ultimately, this is the first type of application process you can go through, which is called a system approval. I know before I go into a bank or before I begin going through my analysis on this bank, I know that this bank is going to give me a system approval. All right. That is me putting the application directly in online. And as long as my data points are spot on, as long as my personal credit is on fire, as long as my industry is not high risk, as long as I have a business address, a business email address, and a business phone number, and at least another employee or staff member alongside me, it is a 99.9/100% chance I'm gonna get approved because I'm looking at the system, I'm engaged in it, and what we doing, my brothers and sisters, we're understanding our pathway, right? You understanding your path. Let's not go on the journey without a navigation system. Let's not go on a journey without directions. Back in the day, before we had technology, we had MapQuest. Let's not leave out of the house without the MapQuest directions. I'm understanding these banks right here. I know this particular sector of banks, they gonna give a system approval. You can go right online. Now, Jerome, what's the benefit of that? Okay, the benefit of that is it increases my velocity of speed. Speed for what? Speed for funding. I can stack faster, easier, more efficient, and dynamic. I do not have to go into the bank, meet the banker, shake their hand, deposit money, hope for approval, pray for approval, preach for approval. See, all I gotta do is focus heavily. The good brother Tyler Perry said, in order to be successful, you gotta hyper focus. So I'm hyper focused right now and looking at how this process goes online. I want to make sure all of my data points are on point. I'm not going online to apply without a business address. I'm not going to apply online without a business email address. I'm not going to apply online and my business industry is absolutely high risk. I'm not doing that. I'm going with a purpose. I'm going with a plan. I'm going with confidence. Why? Because sometimes you gotta slow down in order to speed up. You gotta slow down in order to speed up. If you slow down, then you will speed up to 6 figures in funding. If you slow down, then you will speed up to 7 figures in funding. If you slow down, then you have the capacity to change your absolute life forever. Your lineage, your life, your business, your enterprise, your ideas, your concepts. Money does nothing but put velocity behind it. Money puts speed behind the concept. I was listening to the great brother. This great brother said, everybody in here right now is a millionaire. Everybody watching this video right now is a millionaire based on all of the money that has gone through your hands in a lifetime, through a lifetime. For my people that's making 6 figures, that made 6 figures on their job, 10 years, that's $1 million. For my people that's making $250 on their job, 4 years, that's $1 million. This is why I always ask the question is, what do you qualify a millionaire to be? Is it somebody that nets it? Is it somebody that grosses it? Is it somebody that has $1 million in assets? Is it somebody no, what we really mean is to be a millionaire is that you made $1 million in a compressed amount of time. That is what the world calls a millionaire. Talk to me. What we talking about right now? If I'm in a situation and it is 2026. If since 2016, I made $100,000 every single year for 10 years, then am I not a millionaire? Most people would say no, because you didn't make it fast enough. Right? And so what capital does, what credit does, is it gives you the capacity and the propensity to put your ideas in motion and to move them faster. See, if we're talking about Bill Gates right now, if Bill Gates came out with Microsoft in 2026, it wouldn't hit the same. He was able to get ahead of the curve faster. Robert F. Smith says the key to success, golden success, wealth, etc., is to get there first fast. It is about speed, and don't ever let nobody tell you that it's not. If you start talking about Colonel Sanders created KFC. But he created KFC at a time where most women were being transformed, if you will, or transfigured from being just housewives to now going into the marketplace. However, at the time, people still desired home-cooked meals. So what did he do? He has your protein and your chicken. You got your veggies. You got your mashed potatoes for your starch. You got your carbs. You got your drink. You got your biscuits. Man, people are still in a space where they feel like we are still getting home-cooked meals. And so we have to be able to change with the times, but also understand that timing is everything. I said this time and time again. If you are not aware of timing, you will never be successful at anything. Everything is about timing. Here we go. So the next one, the first one again, we have a system approval. I'm relying on AI. I'm relying on the system. I'm relying on the data points. But the next thing that I have here is I have a manual underwrite. Good Lord have mercy. I could talk to y'all for an hour. When you start talking about the manual underwriting process, okay, the pros and the cons of that, none of them are bad. See, here's what I tell people. I love problems. I got so many problems all throughout my career and throughout my life. I just start calling myself the professional problem solver. I love problems. Problems energize me. They fuel me. So when I'm looking at a problem, when I'm looking at a calamity, when I'm looking at a malady, I'm thinking solution. I'm thinking we're going to overcome this every single time. So whether I'm in a situation where I'm looking at a system approval or I'm looking at an underwriting approval, it really don't make me no difference because, baby, I'm on a path of victory, just like you. We're on a path of victory. So with that being said, I just need to know. See, it's not this whole concept of failure, success. No, I just need to know so that I can know how to overcome. I can know how to position so that I can know how to put myself and my clients and my team and my family in the right position so that we can overcome every single hurdle that comes our way. And so in this instance right here, we're talking about the manual underwriting. What you got to understand about the manual underwriting process that I have written on the board here is that majority of smaller institutions, even credit unions, especially CDFIs and SBA loans, but right now I'm more so talking about how to go and get optimal funding fast through like business credit cards, business lines of credit, things like that. But when we start talking about that manual underwriting process, that particular process here is oftentimes overcome, or it's oftentimes identified to be with smaller institutions, smaller credit unions, right? They're going to go in, they're going to come back, fire back at you, asking questions, a super deep interrogation. This is why oftentimes in every last workshop, boot camp, seminar that I ever do, I always express the purpose of a corporate book. A corporate book gives you the organization that you need. I was recently at a business buying summit. Obviously, a ton of professionals up there, people that have started businesses from scratch, people that bought franchises, and they were talking about the process of going through the SBA. And one lady gave an idea. Here's my concept of going to events. I want to meet 3 people and I want to walk away with 3 life-changing ideas that I can implement now. And so she said something key. She said, make sure when you're going through any type of loan process that you're able to get the lender the documentation that they need in 15 minutes or less. I said, good Lord have mercy. Now this right here is next level. See, because you guys know that I come from the lending industry. And when I'm going through a home buying process with somebody, I don't care if you first time, second time, third time, 5th time home buyer, and it takes you 24 and 48 and 72 hours to send one document, you're not only slowing me down, the underwriter down, but you're slowing down your own process. You gotta be able to move efficiently. One of the grand reasons why King Solomon in the book of Proverbs talked about people not having wealth. He said that a lot of people don't have access to wealth because they have a slack hand. You're moving too slow. You have to move diligently. And so diligence oftentimes coincides with organization. You need to get your corporate book. Inside of that corporate book, you want to have your articles of organization. You want to have your EIN. You want to have your profit and loss statement. You want to have your most recent bank statements. You want to have a copy of your ID, a copy of your social security card. You want to have these things just plastered in the book so that when people calling you and asking you for information, you're not all over the place. Oh, you need that? Boom, boom, boom. I got all my documentations in a digital folder, and I also got my documentation inside of an actual hard copy binder. And so again, you want to be able to send this out to them because they're a smaller institution. They want to be not only build relationships, but garner their funds. They don't have a lot of money to play with in the grand scheme, right? They got millions and billions of dollars that they got access to, but they want to build relationships with real people and real businesses that's really in the marketplace doing the work. Do you hear me? Here we go. Next one, the benefit. As you guys heard me just talk about the documents. So many entrepreneurs are going places and applying. I tell people this all the time. You didn't get denied because you applied for the wrong product. You got denied because you applied for the right product at the wrong time. The biggest thing and concept that I've learned throughout just business, finance, yes, but overall life is the gift of discernment. That's being able to navigate through enigmas, things that are puzzling, right? You want to be able to understand what do they need versus what do I have or don't have. If you're somebody that's just starting out, you've identified that you're going to go through this bank and this bank is going to ask you for tax returns. You just started out and you haven't had a job in 5 years. You just been hustling in business. If that's the case, then save yourself the time, but more importantly, save yourself the inquiry, because I know that they're going to ask for what I don't have, right? So you want to identify the docs. That's a simple phone call. That's a simple email. That's a simple connection, understanding what it is that they need. Now, very key component here, also understanding this benefit before we get on to the next place. The benefit here that I love so much about the manual underwriting process. I went through it with NASA Federal Credit Union. I also went through it with Citibank. One thing that I love about the manual process, and I call it manual because I have to take a look at it, but then sidebar here, let me not forget to give you guys this in a second. Boom, just dropped in my spirit. But the thing that I love about the process is that I can sell myself. I can sell my company. I can sell my enterprise. I can, more importantly, sell my vision. So you can't box my vision in. I can sell where we're going. I can sell the vision on this thing and how it makes sense for your bank and how it makes sense for the community and how it's going to make sense for this jurisdiction and how we're going to go out and create jobs. These are things that benefit the social society. These are things that benefit. One of the other things that I want you guys to always take note of and take heed to, good Lord, I don't have enough time, but to always operate from the place of reciprocity and the place of service. So many people get into business and they get into finance and everything is me. That's not a, Jesus gave us the golden rule inside of Matthew. Do unto others as you would like done unto you. Bless somebody, encourage somebody, hire somebody, give somebody. What I heard a man say, man, I can't even remember who it was. He said one of the greatest things that you can give a man that is struggling, whether he's going in and out of drug addiction, in and out of incarceration, struggling is a paycheck. If you give a man or a woman a paycheck, you will bless them far beyond you could have ever imagined. You will bless them. Another scripture in the word, I'm gonna get back to this. We locked in now. The scripture says, if you see a man that's hungry or you see a man that needs clothes, don't just say, oh, I'll pray for you, I'll be back. No, get him some clothes. Get him something to eat. I'm just talking about this whole view or vantage point of not only thinking about you. That vision that I was talking about in selling yourself is also selling the idea and the vision and the concept that I am going to be able to hire 3 individuals before the next quarter or after the next quarter, or we have a projection to hire 10 people, 15 people, 20 people. Don't you ever, I don't care how big or small your business is, don't you ever forsake the importance of including other people inside of the vision. I'm telling you, it will not only bless them, but it will bless you. It will make you a better leader, a better communicator. It'll make you more wise, more shrewd, more dynamic as you journey along the way. Here we go with the next one. And this is actually still under the application process, but I wanted to make sure that I still gave it to you guys. This next one here is through Ally. So I was able to finance 3 business auto loans under my enterprises since I've been doing business. However, this specific one right here, I came up with this concept of a manual underwrite because when I actually went and I bought a Acura TLX under Ally, Ally was so dynamic and powerful, just so gracious. I loved them so much because they did not even ask for my personal credit. They asked for my EIN and I was able to finance a $45,000. I want to say it was $45,000 or $50,000 that I was able to finance through Ally Financial to purchase a vehicle without using my social security number at all. However, I came up with the concept because I actually had to fill out an actual sheet of paper. And so one of the things that you'll realize on the actual funding journey, if you guys are looking to get like business auto loans and things like that, is that an actual business auto loan oftentimes puts you in position where you now have this auto loan, and oftentimes these applications are literally met like on paper. Right? So some of them have antiquated processes where you still have to go in and really write out the whole process. So that's why I was talking about like just the manual. So just understanding the types, and even with these, when you go to the dealership, a lot of times inside of the dealership, you'll figure out your approval process within like the matter of like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour, right? And so that's just another way to kind of look at it, man, just so y'all can have all the information that you need. All right, man, let's go. The very last one, if I could find it, there we go. All right, remember y'all, we've been talking for a while now. But we're still on your path. Understanding what your path is. And the very last component that I want to give you guys regarding your path and touching on your path is understanding, for F, your footprint. This is one of the main components that inspired this conversation for me. I live on the East Coast. I have a great colleague of mine that lives on the West Coast. We were sharing notes. He was talking about the banks that he had gone to and had major success. I gave him the banks that I had gone to and had major success. However, there are different types of banks. You have national banks, you have regional banks, you have community banks. You have banks that are community development financial institutions that are only to be utilized within a specific state or a specific hub. You have SBA loans, you have business. There's so many different types of pockets. Needless to say, what I did was I took one of the banks that he gave me out in California, and I was sadly mistaken with my big, beautiful 813 credit score built to a T. house, car, loan, credit cards, high limits, $25,000 limits. I was sadly mistaken that I went out there and they said, Mr. Tyler, you are denied. Sir, you're not approved. I understand you got this big, pretty, whatever you want to call it, 813 credit score. I understand you got high limits. I understand you've had cars and houses, but no, we do not accept you. I'm sitting there so confused. Like, I know I can go anywhere in the country and get approved. But again, this is why we're talking about what we're talking about, because certain things are not as applicable depending on the situation. They came back and they said, Jerron, you are not in our footprint. You are not in our footprint, sir. You're on the East Coast. We're on the West Coast. We can only lend to people in this particular environment. Oh my gosh. A big learning lesson for me. This is why I'm always talking about the importance of understanding and being able to balance out your inquiries. We just talked about that. I want to save my inquiries. If I know I'm gonna go to a place and I'm already gonna lose before I get there, there's 1,000 other banks. There's hundreds of thousands of other banks that I could have gone to, but I went there because he and I had been conversing. He said he went there and got approved for $35,000. I said, hey, let me go and try it, and I got denied. Here's how it looks. Boom, we got our banks here. We're gonna put a B in the middle. Can you see? And we're gonna put another B in the middle. These are your banks. This is the jurisdiction. What we have is, we have these yellow dots. These are the people that they can lend to. We got an issue because now these people are smiling so hard, they come and say, hey, let me go and tell my friends. And then they come and tell their friends, and their friends say, hey, I want to apply, but we're out of the jurisdiction. We're going to apply right all over your smiley face. And, you know, we're here, but we want the same benefits. This bank said, as much as we would like to give you a smiley face, I'm sorry, but we can't. I always say lending is based on risk factor and capacity. I understand you got the perfect situation, and I would love to help you. I would love to give, but the reality is I don't have it to give. How am I gonna give you what I can't give? What happens is now I'm in a situation where I got the perfect situation. Remember, Jerome, what's the main reason why people are getting denied? They're applying for the right thing at the wrong time. They're applying for the right thing in the wrong space. They're applying for the right thing at the wrong bank. They're applying for the right thing, but they're missing one component, and that one component can cost them $35, $40, $45, $50, $55, $60, $100,000. This is why my man, God bless him, blessed be the name of the Lord for sending us King Solomon. He said, in all of your getting, get understanding. See, if you don't have understanding, you can have all the information in the world. The world is overwhelmed by information, but we need revelation. We need understanding. When you got the understanding, you can make your way through, and it's almost like, I use this example all the time. It's like taking a butter knife and cutting through a nice hot stick of butter. It's easy like Sunday morning, but you gotta be locked in. You gotta be focused. You can't just go everywhere, you know, I'm applying here, I'm applying there, because I heard, stop listening to people that are just putting out information for sound bites. You have to be able to vet the information for yourself, or you'll always be mediocre and have subpar results because you're listening to anybody and everybody, but you have not practiced it for yourself. You've not read, you've not studied, you've not networked, you've not gone through trial and error to ensure, man, that you are able to step into a life-changing season. I don't know nobody right now, nobody watching this line right now that couldn't use $100,000 infusion into their business to take it to the next level. As much as, man, I'm pumped up and fired up, this thing is serious stuff right here. So I went out here and I got denied. Boom. Because certain banks, not national banks, that's why they're called national. They can lend nationally. But if I took you to a big old beautiful pretty asset of a credit union in Virginia, in Georgia, in New York, but I lived up in Utah, there's a great chance that that bank might say, what in the world are they trying to bank with us for all the way across the country? We're a small credit union. We do business within the confinements of this region. So again, don't matter if you got an 850. You can have an 880 and a 990. We will not approve you because you're out of balance and out of pockets. Very last thing, I just mentioned this. Beautiful credit don't matter. It don't matter if you're penetrating the wrong space. And so, man, I'm so fired up and so pumped up. Thank you guys for watching to the end, man. We appreciate you. Again, today's video was on your path, understanding your pathway to success, to funding, drilling down on what matters most, man. Thank you guys for tapping in again. Jerron Anthony Tyler, founder of Posterity.ai, And what you guys are going to get when you come or go either to the software or come here on this line is you're going to get intense underwriting understanding, intense underwriting insight, not by way of something that we've read, but that we've gone through. Trial and error. We live this, we breathe this, we eat this right underneath our passion for God. And so, man, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. If you found value, I need you to send this, man. Like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your best friend's best friend. I can't wait to see you on the next video. Let's go!